As you can see, I've controlled the outline all the way through. Triangular balance to it. It'll dry naturally, kind of how people wear it. These mannequins have that kind of texture.
Hopefully what I could kind of get across with approaching it this way is it takes a little bit of the guesswork out of what you want to create. You start with that first section and then you use your eyes to really visualize where it's going to end up. You have options with how exaggerated your angle is, what you want to see, what you want to create. If that took some of the guesswork out of it, this side will take all of the guesswork out of it, because we're just going to start right in the front. And that speaks to the clients that like, I want something, you know, to sit on my cheekbone. I want it to sit right on my jaw. Let's start right there.
It's really tricky to figure that out from back here behind this corner, right? To figure out where it's going to fall through here. So why don't we just do that part first, then it's done.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to do the other side. Cool. So I'm going to do a line on this side, and now I'm going to graduate that. This was layered. Now I'm going to build the weight. I'm not going to remove it. Removing weight, it removes weight so it releases like a little bit more texture. So it allows the hair to bounce more, I feel. Now graduation and a line swings backwards and forwards. It's earthquake proof. It's not supposed to be doing that. Right? Layers do that, but also when you go with layering, it takes it shorter on the inside. So that can restrict movement. Right? Kind of like a wig. Whereas on this side, it's really going to have a lot more movement to it because I'm keeping weight on the inside. I'm not taking that density of that hair and limiting it. See, when hair's shorter, it doesn't move around as much. Whereas when it's longer, it's floppy, it does whatever, right? So my first section, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to approach this side differently in how I cut the outline. I'm not going to start in the back. I'm going to start in the front, and it's the same thing as this. When a client sits in your chair, they don't generally go, "Oh, I want it here." This top vertebrae, right? They usually show you here, I want it here, 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 right? So why don't you start in the front? So I'm going to take a circular section from this round of the head, which is the apex, all the way around, following the round of the head, to the occipital. Kind of like a yarmulke, right?
If this were in the salon, I would be standing just right in front of it, working right in front of myself, but obviously I don't want to completely block you guys, so I'm standing a little off to the side and then just trying to have my fingers mirror what's going on with my section of this so I stay on track.
So every time you bring down a new section for your graduation, are you this behavior, or are you bringing it to the previous?
Bringing it to my previous, and if you're doing this, you can, if it makes it easier for you, after you've done that section, you can clip away the underneath. I feel like the more experience you have with it, it starts to become a little bit of a feeling and bringing it down to your guide. But at the same time, if you're more comfortable and organized and you get all the unnecessary out of the way, then totally do that.
All right. So, taking that section, it's quite a big section actually, and what it means is basically the entire hairline is covered. I'm not cutting a little small section of it here, adding a bit more. When I get turn around this corner, I realise it's too short, right? Isn't it funny how it's never too long on the box, you know? So, instead of starting here, I'm going to start here in the front. And I'm going to start in the weakest area, the most troublesome area, which is the here. Because if I know if I get that right, it's not going shorter anywhere else, is it? Because the density is heavier everywhere else. So I'll get to protect it much easier. When I started to think this way, this is when I was thinking about leaving Sassoon, because I was starting to teach differently, starting to evolve it a little bit more. So instead of working from the back and trying to guess that length in, I'm going to do it in the front. Same principles as before. Keep the hair super down, let the hair fall where it wants to fall, and put that line in. So starting at the ear, combing the hair down. Don't go back to the root there. Come further down to control it, so that you're not raking through the hair and using excessive tension. Tap above the ear. Put that length in. Now that's done. So you're not going to have the issue of it jumping up. So now I can work the rest of it much easier. Nowhere is there a rule book that says you've got to start it in the back, you've got to start it and do it this way. Things change and evolve.
So I like to just think about graduation and dissect what it's actually doing to someone, why you do it. The mannequins are pretty standard, you know, they have that roundness, but not everyone has the same head shape. So when I'm consulting with the client and I'm talking about their hair and I'm getting my hands in there, I'm feeling, you know, especially in the crown, because everyone this day and age likes a little bit of volume. But I also like to look at them face to face or look at them in the mirror and think about how the graduation is going to sit on their face and then what it's actually going to do for them, whether it's going to like widen them or whether it's going to push weight higher and kind of elongate them a little bit. And that's where you can start to tune in to external graduation, internal graduation, what that actually means. And if you want to...
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't really know the difference, or maybe have even heard about internal or external graduation. So when you build weight, you can go to two places. You can go through here, right? Or it could go up here. There's nowhere else I can send it, right? I'm taking it from down here, I'm going to push it higher. I can put it through the sides and in the back, the occipital area, and I then can put it on the top. So if I put the weight lower, which is below the round of the head, it widens the face. So if you want to make someone's face wider, put the weight here. You do that. That's external graduation. That has that heavy weight line. It looks like a rooftop, right? Now internal graduation is when you take that weight and you push it higher up the head, above that round. It now puts the weight here, so it actually makes the face skinnier and elongates the head, right? I use the analogy of external graduation is like Stewie from Family Guy, and internal graduation is like Sideshow Bob from The Simpsons.
Oh my God.
Right? Now you'll remember it. So I've put that outline in, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to graduate it. And it's like, how do I graduate this? But if I take a vertical section in what I've just done, pulled all that hair down, didn't I? I didn't pull everything down, only this section. So if I check this now, you guys have a look too. That's a build-up of weight. It's getting longer towards the top. So if I bring everything down, it won't be graduation, it'll just keep all the density the same, right? If I now just add this on top of that and continue that, then I'm going to graduate that edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a vertical diagonal back section in the hair that I've not cut yet. This has been cut. This hasn't. So I'm going to take a vertical diagonal back section. And pull that straight out from the head. I'm not going to elevate any higher than the top of the head. So I'm just going to put straight out, no over direction. So vertical diagonal within the section. and I'm just going to add that on to what's already there. The guide's there. So what that does, it just lightly bevels the edge. Now, I'm starting the haircut in the front, and I'm going to move backwards, and it's going to get lighter towards the back, not heavier. So I'm doing the same balance as this side, triangular, but I'm starting from the front and working backwards. So I'm doing it backwards. How does that work? It works because in that section, that diagonal back section, there's a buildup of weight. So the top of the section lives in front of the base of the section, right? So when that falls, it will fall triangular or A-line, whatever you want to call that balance. So I'll continue to work vertical diagonal back sections with no over direction.
So now that I'm above the round of the head, above the parietal, I'm going to go for Stewie from Family Guy. Bring everything down, stationary. I'm not going to do it in one fell swoop, but I like to be in control as well and clearly see my guide. So we're also dealing with the real estate right here. Kind of a lack of density working with the natural hairline. So as I approach this area, I'm going to make sure my finger angle is mirroring that and not getting level or rounded, because things can go haywire and then the purity of your shape goes out the window.
So I'm cutting this on the outside of my fingers, which will go against what I usually teach. Because generally if I want to cut something that's a build-up of weight, graduation, I will do that on the inside of my fingers. Because naturally that's how it works. Whereas the outside works more this way. So if I'm not careful and I drop this elbow, it's going to go from graduation to layering, right? The only reason why I'm doing it this way is so you can see. If I was doing this by myself, I'd stand directly in front of it and cut this way, so I know that I'm not going to. For me, it's this hip, it's this foot, it's this leg that's controlling my over direction. For example, like you did the other haircut, I was stood like this, with my feet level, parallel to what I'm doing. If I was like this, then I'm going to over-direct over here. If I was too far forward, then I'd over-direct quite a lot. So be aware of what's going on here. Most of the time, I will use a mirror, because that will tell me what's happening and where the hair's going. But I don't have a mirror, so I have to really rely on what my feet are doing. So I have to think about it. The mirror is the best tool you can use. If you all go back to your salons tomorrow and use your mirror, your work will be much better than it was on Saturday or Friday. The mirror is literally like, it's you on a flat screen, like someone's videoing you. It's like watching us on YouTube or whatever you watch us, but you're doing it. It's your teacher there in your mirror, because when you cut hair, it's very two-dimensional where you're at. That third dimension is when you look in the mirror, you can see where you are and where you're actually sending the hair to. You'll be surprised. Like when you do that over direction, put the mirror here and do it how you think you're doing it, and then look. You'll be surprised that you weren't bringing it where you were supposed to. So it's amazing what we do when we're not looking. So I would say use that mirror big time. So now my sections are pivoting so that I continue to take vertical diagonal back. If I just kept going back, it'll get all weird. It won't be vertical diagonal anymore. So I have to pivot now to keep that. How's everyone? Cool.
I think one of the most common sense things that I can try and say, anytime we have a class and people, are going through these haircuts and there's excitement, frustration, there's a lot of different things that happen. But I always try and just stress to people, like, if you can tomorrow or next week just try and do the same thing again, and just that repetition and understanding the mechanics and understanding the mistakes, because there's always going to mistakes. I just like understanding where some of the mistakes come from. You know, when I make mistakes in a haircut, I'm like, okay, you know, I understand what happened because I just love to practice. And factory is a great place for that because I always get to practice my craft. So anyways, I'm to the cross check. Do you guys like how you can see right where that length is right from the get-go? I'm looking for a buildup of weight, so I'm just going to take vertical sections and pull the hair straight out.
So I'm just continuing, making sure that I move with the haircut so I'm not over-directing. Keeping that elevation flat with the top of the head. You know, you kind of just was hitting on that one there, Erin. It's all about knowing why you made the mistake. Else you don't really learn. You just know that you made a mistake and someone pointed it out to you, you know what I mean? Anyone can do that, you know what I mean? So I feel that, you know, one of my biggest focuses in classes is to explain how that happened. I mean, anyone that's got that finer texture through the top and more density in the bottom, this is probably the best technique for them. Because you're taking the bulk out of where there's more density, making that stronger, and where it's weaker, where there's less, that's being held up by that foundation of weight. You know, sometimes people want things, but they can't have them. You know what I mean? And they don't want things, but they should have them. You know what I mean? Isn't it our job to kind of help them into that? You know what I mean? I would say this would look so much better than the dog ear issue. You know? But, you know, clients, you know, it's all what society is determining what we do. And, you know, most consumers, they judge what we do by what they say in InStyle magazine. You know what I mean? Apparently that has all the information about haircutting. But I'm always trying to teach suitability. And to understand suitability is to understand all this landscape and how hair will fall and how it will move and how it will grow and all that kind of stuff.
Something I say to my clients is, do you know what I think would look really good on you? You know what I mean? Like, because they're coming to you, hopefully, because they know your work and they're excited about what you bring to the table. The more you sort of work with suitability and understand what looks complementary to someone, the more value you have, I feel. Less of a just simple technician you are.
Yeah, you're not just facilitating beauty, you know?
There's a lot you can say about it, and there's a lot of variables.
Right.
And if somebody wants that, you know, really clean, defined line, you have to have a conversation with them about, well, are you okay with removing all this hair and having to keep up on trimming it or shaving it every week or so, you know? Or do you want to just work with what they have naturally and steer them in a direction of something that might be just a little more suitable or, I don't know, just realistic? Because we always want what we don't have. But if you maybe pitch them something that you saw, you know, and something that you think would look good on them, they might trust your judgment and be like, I like that idea.
Well, I can see that, but it's all right. But it's not precise. It's not clean. So if I see that, I'm going to go, right? What I've done is I've just cut a hole in that wall I've just created, right? Now, cross-checking is like slicing the pie the opposite way. That's all it is. So I'm going to take an opposite section to how I cut it, and I'm going to pull it to the exact same place as where it was cut. I didn't pull this hair here. It was 90 degrees in elevation, right? So that's where I'm going to check it. And chances are, that line is precise. So you're better than you think you are. You've got to look in the right places, because that would have been catastrophic if I'd have just gone, I'd have cut a massive hole in that wall. So look at your haircuts in the right places. So that's how I would cross-check that. I'd check the top horizontally, check that over direction, and then I'll check the opposite side for you. I hope you guys had a good morning with us. home now. Take my daughter up from school.
So I'm connecting the back to the front. I'm using the front as a reference point, and I'm taking the same sections that I took, and now that I'm connecting using vertical diagonal sections. I'm looking for a leaner type of shape through here. I want it to get progressively longer as I get to the center, kind of the opposite of what I had going on the other side. So I'm over-directing to the previous, and I'm walking with it, keeping my fingers to create a V through there. If I wanted a much more swollen, beveled type of shape, my sections wouldn't be as vertical diagonal. I would have taken more horizontal diagonal sections, and I would have made it about elevation and walked with it, kept low elevation.
And so what you see now is you've got this really nice, heavier bob that's got a lot more density on the inside because I've kept it, I've not removed it. You'd see it better as it dries. But I would challenge you guys to try these techniques. We've been messing around with this thing lately of just doing opposing shapes. I don't know if you've been watching us do those tutorials, but it's been a lot of fun. And then you can really see what the difference is between a graduated bob and a layered bob, or a round layer and a triangle layer and that. So, again, I want to thank you guys. I think time's up now, isn't it? Yeah. Very nice of you, thank you. And you can always find us on social media. Obviously, I put most of my stuff up there and it lets you know where I am and what I'm doing. Come and take a class with us sometime. You'll have a really good time.
Where are you guys?
I'm located in San Diego.
San Diego?
Yeah, so I have a salon and education center there.
What is the name?
The Factory.
Oh, the factory.
Yeah.